Let's discuss about animal tissues as part of chapter number 6, tissues. What are animal tissues? I would prefer by explaining animal tissues as group of animal cells, and these group of animal cells are having common origin. These are derived from same cell and they are having same structure, having same size, same shape, and they are performing similar function. Hence, I would define animal tissues as group of animal cells having common origin and have similar structure and function. Animal tissues can be categorized as nervous tissue, we have muscular tissue, we have connective tissue and epithelial tissue. Regarding nervous tissue, it is forming the entire nervous system, and in a way it is responsible for control and coordination of different parts of our body. By receiving different electrical impulses from external stimuli, after collecting or receiving the electrical impulse, they carry the electrical impulse and transfer or transmit it to next neuron, and in a way there is control and coordination of different organs in our body. Muscular tissue are responsible for different movements in our body, whether it be voluntary movement or whether it be involuntary movement. Connective tissues are like friends. Connective tissues help in linking and supporting different tissues in our body. So connective tissues are helping in connection between different organs in our body. Epithelial tissue are the protective covering of our body. They form the protective tissue. Say skin, the largest organ in our body, is made up of epithelial tissue. We'll be discussing each of these one by one. First, let's discuss about epithelial tissues. As I've already stated, epithelial tissues are forming the outermost protective layer or covering of our body, and likewise there is formation of protective covering in other animals too. Epi refers to above. Thelial tissue are the outermost or the uppermost layer of tissues. It can be glandular. Glandular epithelial tissues are specialized epithelial tissues which are responsible for secretion of some substances. We also have unilayer epithelial tissues. Unilayer, uni refers to single. So single layer of epithelial cells form unilayer epithelial tissues. So they are made up of single layer of cells. Multilayer epithelial tissues, on the other hand, are made up of many layers of cells. Regarding your glandular epithelial tissue, these are forming the salivary glands, sweat glands, and in a way these are secreting substances, right? So as you can see the image, these are forming a sac-like structure from which there is secretion of different biochemicals. Say for example, we have salivary gland which is secreting saliva. Sweat gland usually secretes sweat. Oil glands help in production of oils. Now, regarding your multilayer epithelial tissue, we have stratified squamous epithelium. Stratified here refers to having layers of cells, having zones of cells. As you can see in the image, there are many layers of cells, or there are many strata, zones, or regions of cells forming many layered epithelial tissue, and these are found in skin. Now, Unilayered epithelial tissue are of different types. Say, for example, we have squamous epithelial tissue. These are unilayer, having single layer, and as you can see in the diagrammatic representation, these are thin, flat, and they form fragile or delicate, very sensitive lines of cell in the blood vessels. These are also found in the alveoli in lungs. They also form the cellular linings in our mouth and esophagus. So squamous epithelial tissue are thin and flat in structure, flattened structure, which are forming the lining of different organs in our body. Regarding cuboidal epithelial tissue, they are also unilayered epithelial tissues. They are cuboidal mainly because of they are having cube shape, and these form the linings of different tubular structures in our body. Say for renal, say for example, we have renal tubules, which are tubular structures in kidney. These also form the ducts of salivary glands. Hence, we can say that cuboidal epithelial tissues are cube-shaped. They form the lining of different tubular structures in our body like renal tubule or kidney tubule and ducts of salivary glands. Cuboidal epithelial tissue is helping in providing mechanical support for renal tubules, ducts of salivary glands, etc. Now, we also have another unilayer epithelial tissue called columnar. The term column here refers to pillar-like. So the cells of columnar epithelial tissues are pillar-like. They are rectangular uh, shaped, and they are having pillar-like structure. Now, the function of squamous epithelial tissue is to helping in formation of diffusion boundary. It forms a membranous layer which helps in diffusion or movement of substances from higher region to lower region. Say for example, in case of alveoli, there is exchange of gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen takes place from higher concentration of higher amount of molecules of carbon dioxide and oxygen to lower region of oxygen and carbon dioxide. So there is movement of higher amount of molecules from higher region to lower region, and that is called as diffusion. So squamous epithelial tissue is forming diffusion membrane or diffusion boundary or diffusion layer of cells, being these are unilayer, forming thin layer, single layer of cells around blood vessels, especially the capillaries. Now, your cuboidal epithelial tissues are responsible for secretion and absorption. Say in case of salivary glands, cuboidal epithelial tissues helps in secretion of saliva. But in case of renal tubules, it is helping in absorption of water and required uh, materials. In case of columnar epithelial tissue, we have two types. It can be ciliated columnar epithelial tissue. In case of ciliated columnar epithelial tissue, we have hair-like structure outgrowth from the column-shaped cells. And these are usually tall, and they are having hair-like projections or hair-like outgrowth, usually present in the respiratory tract and genital tract. Reproductive tract. Genital tract here refers to reproductive tract. In case of non-ciliated columnar epithelial tissue, these are not having hair-like projections. These are not having hair-like outgrowth like that of ciliated columnar epithelium. They are tall, and these are They are tall in the sense they are extended, column shaped, and they are found in stomach and small intestine. Now, in case of the function of ciliated columnar epithelium, these are responsible for moving or propulsion of mucus and particles within the respiratory tract and genital tract by movement of cilia present on the ciliated columnar epithelium tissue. There is movement or pushing of the mucus and particles which are external and which has to be removed from the uh, respiratory tract and even genital tract. Now, regarding the function of non-ciliated columnar epithelium, these are helping in secretion and absorption. In case of stomach, non-ciliated columnar epithelium tissue help in secretion of gastric glands. With reference to the non-ciliated epithelial columnar non-ciliated columnar epithelial tissue found in intestine, they helps in absorption of the digested nutrients. This is a brief idea, brief concept about epithelial tissues. Now let's discuss about another animal tissue, that is muscular tissue. As we have already discussed, muscular tissues are responsible for movement of body, mainly because of muscular tissues are containing contractile protein. Contractile protein can contract and they can expand. So muscular tissues are having filamentous hair-like structure proteins, and these proteins can contract and can extend. So expansion and contraction mechanism is found in the contractile protein found in muscles, and because of the contraction and relaxation of the contractile protein, it is causing movement in our body. So muscular tissues are having contractile protein which can contract and which can relax, and in a way it causes movement of our body parts. Regarding the types, we have voluntary muscle, which are also known as skeletal muscle. Voluntary muscle is name given because of the muscles which, say skeletal muscles, are under the control of nervous system. That means uh, if we have will, or if we wish to move our hands, we are able to move, mainly because of in our hands we have skeletal muscles, and because of the will and wish there is occurrence of movement. And your voluntary muscles are usually associated with bones, usually attached with the bones of our body. That's why these are also known as skeletal muscles. We also have involuntary muscles which are responsible for involuntary movements in our body. Involuntary here refers to movements which are not under our control. They are occurrence of movement by these involuntary muscles automatically. We even can't stop the movement of involuntary muscles. Now let's discuss about the uh, voluntary muscle, that is skeletal muscle. Regarding the skeletal muscle, the cells of the skeletal muscle or voluntary muscles are usually long, having shape of cylindrical shaped, and they are unbranched. They are not having branching cells. They are unbranched, having cylindrical shape, and they are having many nucleus in each. This is one cell of skeletal muscle, and within single cell we have many nucleus, so they are multinucleate. Multi refers to many, nucleate here refers to the nucleus, so they are having many nuclei, and that's why they are multinucleate. And they are striated, that means they are having striations. skeletal muscle cells are having striations. Striations are mainly, striation means stripes, presence of stripes, and presence of stripes are mainly because of presence of light and dark bands of contractile protein. In some region you are not able to find the dark bands in the cells of skeletal muscle, but in some region we have dark bands, some region we are not having bands, so that's why there is presence of light and dark bands alternately. If we have light band, then we have darker band on the next, and after that darker bands we have another lighter band, and in a way it forms striation or stripe-like appearance. We usually see stripes on the zebra, right? Likewise, there is presence of striations on the cells, in the cells of your skeletal muscle. Now in case of cardiac muscle, which are cardiac refers to heart, so these muscles are found in heart, and cardiac muscles are involuntary. We can't control the movement of heart, and movement of heart is occurring because of the muscles of the heart called cardiac muscle. Now in case of cardiac muscle, we also have another involuntary muscle called as smooth or unstriated muscle, which are also known as visceral muscle. Visceral refers to internal, so these are found in the internal organs. Smooth, they are called as smooth, visceral muscles are called as smooth muscles because of they are not having striation. Unstriated because they are not having stripes, they are not having light and dark bands. As you can see here, there is no light and dark bands, but in case of cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle there are striations, right? So regarding your visceral muscle, they are located within the inner lining or inner walls of your internal organs like alimentary canal, reproductive tract. These are also found in the blood vessels, ureter, bronchi of lungs, and these are also found in the iris of our eyes. Now regarding cardiac muscle, these are made up of cardiac cells. Cells of cardiac muscles are made up of cardiac cells, and they are having cylindrical shape like that of skeletal muscle. Cylindrical shaped, but they are having cells which are branching. You are able to find branching cells. So this is one entire cell, and there is branching of cell found within the cells of cardiac muscle, and they are uninucleate, having only one cell within there is only one cell within a cell, so they are uninucleated. Uninucleate means a single nucleus is present, and they are striated, they are having stripes, right? So they are striated and they are having single nucleus in a cell, so they are uninucleate. Regarding your visceral muscle or smooth or unstriated muscle, we have spindle shaped cells, and these spindle shaped cells are unbranched. Single cells are present, there is no branching of single cell, and they are having single nucleus within one cell, one spindle shaped cell, hence they are uninucleate. So this is all about the concept of muscular tissue. With reference to this chart, you will be able to understand the differences. So you have to learn how to draw up well-labeled diagrams of your skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and your visceral muscle or smooth muscle or striated, unstriated muscle. With reference to this chart, let's try to differentiate between striated muscle and unstriated muscle. Striated muscles are also known as skeletal muscle, and skeletal muscles are voluntary muscles. These muscles can move, can make our body move with our wish and will. I'm moving my hand because of I'm willing to move my hand, right? I'm having wish to move my hand. But in case of unstriated, smooth, involuntary muscle, even if we try to stop the movement of heart. We won't be able to stop it. It is occurring automatically, right? So that's why they are involuntary muscle. Now, regarding your striated muscle, they are known as involuntary muscle because these function according to our wish and will, okay? And on the other hand, unstriated muscles are involuntary muscle as we can't control the functions of involuntary muscles. In case of your striated muscle, these are called as skeletal muscles, mainly because of these muscles are attached or these are associated with the bones. They are lying close to next to the bones. But in case of smooth involuntary muscle, these are not lying with the bones. They are indirectly attached or these are far away from the bones. In case of your skeletal muscle, these are also known as striated muscle, mainly because of these are having light and dark bands. Light, we have filamentous proteins which are contractile, and these are having light and dark bands. Wherever there is presence of filamentous protein, there is formation of darker band, and if the filamentous protein is not present, they form lighter band. In case of unstriated muscle, these are not having striation, these are not appearing like stripes under microscope, they are not having light and dark bands, right? Now, in case of the characteristic cellular characteristics of your skeletal muscle, these are multinucleate, having many nuclei, unbranched, and they are cylindrical shaped. But in case of your unstriated muscle, these are having, say in case of your involuntary muscle, these may be having pointed ends in case of your smooth muscle. Say in case of your skeletal muscle, our example is muscles of our hands and legs. Muscles in the alimentary canal, iris of our eyes are made up of smooth muscles. So this is the difference between striated muscle and unstriated muscle. Now let's discuss about nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is another animal tissue which is mainly made up of neurons or nerve cells. So neuron is forming the structural and functional unit of nervous system. That means neuron is the smallest structure which can perform the function of nervous tissue. So that's why they are the smallest structure which is helping in performing the function of nervous system. Nervous system is helping in control and coordination of our body, right? And these nervous tissues are made up of neurons and they are found in brains, spinal cord and nerves, different nerves which are present in our body, say like cranial nerves which are coming out from our brain, and spinal nerves which are coming out from the spinal cords are made up of neurons. And the main function of nervous tissue is helping in collecting or receiving the stimuli or electrical impulse, and it helps in conduction of the electrical impulse through the neuron, and it is going to transmit or transfer the electrical impulse to next neuron, to another neuron. So this is how neurons are helping in control and coordination of different organs in our body. Now regarding the structural characteristic of our neuron, let's try to see this diagram. I've enlarged the diagram. So we have main cellular body, which is the cell body, which is also known as soma or cytome. So cytome is the main cell body which is having nucleus, and the cell membrane of the neuron is extending in order to form branching structures, and these branching structures are known as dendrites. And there is extension of the cell membrane to form axon. So we have axon as tail-like structure, and we have branching uh, extension of the membrane of neuron, which are known as dendrites. And dendrites are helping in collecting, which are finger-like structure. We usually use our fingers for grabbing objects, for collecting something, right? So that's why similarly our neurons are having dendrites, which are finger-like structure, or these are branching extension of the membrane of a neuron, and it helps in collecting impulse, or it helps in collecting or receiving the stimuli. Now, cell body or cytone will be helping in processing the information, processing the received electrical impulse. So the cytone or the cell body helps in processing the signal or message, and after that axon terminal will be helping in transmission, or it helps in transferring of the electrical impulse from this neuron to another neuron, or to muscle, or to a gland, which in a way there is occurrence of some action. There is control and coordination of different parts of our body. Our axon, as you can see here, the extension of the cell membrane forming tail-like structure, is either having myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is a covering which is mainly made up of fats. So in case of some neuron, there is no myelin, and those neurons are known as unmyelinated axon. So axon may be myelinated, and myelinated axons are having myelin sheath, which are nothing. These are mainly having deposition of fats, or made up of fats mainly. But in case of the unmyelinated axon, they are not having myelin sheath. Now regarding the impulse transmission or transfer of signals through the axon, we have faster signal transmission through the myelinated sheath, mainly because of there is no losing of electrical impulse nearby. Axon which are having myelin sheath are covered by myelin sheath, which doesn't allow the loss of signals, electrical impulse, and in a way electrical impulse or message, electrical message are transferred through the myelinated sheath faster. We also have nodes of Ranvier, which is the groove, or which is the part in between two Schwann cells. So Schwann cells are usually found around the axon, and in case of axon we have axon terminal, which is ending with a tiny knob-like structure, a tiny bulging structure called synaptic knob. So this is all about structure of neuron, and we have already understood how neuron is performing its function. So this chart is having summary of the entire information, every information regarding animal tissue. I'll be uploading the chart in the description, so do follow that. We haven't discussed about connective tissue. I'll be discussing about connective tissue in another video, and that's all for today regarding your nervous tissue, muscular tissue, and epithelial tissue. I have explained everything. We'll be discussing about connective tissue in another video, and these are the questions that you need to answer and list the 4 major types of animal tissues. Very simple, right? And you need to explain epithelial tissue in brief. And third question is requiring you to distinguish between 3 different types of muscle tissue, say muscular tissue, say skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. you have to differentiate between these. And fourth, you have to draw a well-labeled diagram of 3 different types of muscle tissue. And fifth question asks you to draw a well-labeled diagram of neuron, and you need to explain the structure and function of nerve cell. That's all for this video. Thank you. Have a good day. Take care.